investment and training. Three, the tripods we will invest in and stuff like that. I thought there will be a certain push towards what's happening in the Western world, where all these three things will try to coexist. What is it that flexi staffing companies can actually do to make flexi staffing industry as a cool industry, or at least some industry with an identity? That's my question. Because we've grown in size, 6 billion, as he said, from whatever.
I have fun looking at acronyms. So I've been, looking at ISF and saying Indian Staffing Federation, the voice of the Indian staffing industry. So what if ISF were to be the voice of individuals seeking fulfillment?
Of the youth.
Here, like the morning sessions, all the sessions focused on the firm. This session is focusing on the individual.
Yeah.
And if you focus on the individual and show him the future, right? And if you just rebrand yourself or restructure yourself to actually demonstrate that and then follow it up with a series of actions, right? Then you will, see, you have to lead. Neither government regulation nor anybody else as a group. And one thing which I've done is like 20 plus years I've worked in associations, right? And I'll tell you, in 1985, we had just played a cricket match and there were 5 of us sitting after losing to the Journalists Club and saying, who will want to marry us? Where do you work in? AIEI. What is AIEI? Old MacDonald had a farm. We were joking. Then we said, what if we transform this organization to be the voice of Indian industry? And when people will seek to actually work here. 4 years ago, when we started NSDC, nobody wanted to work in NSDC. I was working somewhere else, and they said, okay, now you move and do this here. Today, on an average, we get 5 to 10 resumes over email that we want to work in NSDC, and I don't have time. So if you want to make and transform this industry, the voice of industry has to change, and collectively you have to position this industry differently. And as Ram and others said, not find diversionary ways to circumvent regulation or something, but show people that if you join us, if you join firm XYZ, which is a member of ISF, then you have a career, you have respect, and your outreach program has to change.
Thank you. No, we have completely run out of time, and I don't want Ram to miss his flight. I think one thing, Ritu, maybe for the ISF to look forward to is the bottom of the objectives has been about, that we want to make staffing as a choice of employment. Maybe that comes to the top. That's the only thing I want to take away from the session. Thank you very much. There cannot be enough time to discuss this. Thank you so much, Ram,
Thank you very much.
Dilip, and Sangeeta. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your valuable insights. May I now request Mr. Mehul Shah, who is board member, Indian Staffing Federation, to present the mementos to our panelists. Yeah. Mr. Ram Kumar. Mr. Mulidhar Rao. Mr. Kamal Karan. Oh, okay. Ms. Sangeeta Sehgal. Mr. Dilip Chinoy. And Mr. Kamal Karan. You forgot him.
Stand is better, closer.
Thank you very much. May I now request all of you to join us for tea session. We'll reassemble in another 15 minutes. Thank you.
The next session is a very special session for us. We have Mr. K. Pandya-Rajan, who's ex-president, Indian Staffing Federation, and also the founder member of ISF. He is the founder of Mafua Group. He is one of the most well-respected business leaders in India with over 28 years of experience in management and human resources. As the founder of Mafua Management Consultants, he was at the forefront of the transformational changes that swept the HR landscape over the last 2 decades and pioneered the HR outsourcing concept in India. May I please request Mr. Pandya-Rajan to come and address the panel. Thank you.
Dear friends, such a pleasure to address ISF National Conclave. I just have 3 points to make. I've been feeling very tempted to talk about this with the large staffing community and the HR community present here. Certain events and what you call as news which triggered for me to stand before you and take these 15 minutes. One of the events is, of course, the Prime Minister's address when he spoke about the skill development with so much of passion, India skill, straight from the heart. My mind actually went back to the day Vajpayee, exactly 12 years back, from the ramparts of the same fort, spoke about the skill development mission. 2003 is when he spoke about. I was very excited because I had just come back from a US thing when I met Mr. C.K. Prahalad at that point, who had written an article called India at 75. I don't know how many of you recall the linkage between that. That was the first time he articulated this idea that 15 crores of people to be trained by 2022. And 2022 was chosen because it was India at 75 years of independence at that point in time. And Jeffrey Sachs, who again was an American researcher, developed that into a full article at that point. And I met both of them. And that vision, call it if you like, which was articulated in 2003 first by Vajpayee ji, I was really wanting to see, and I was just sitting with the friends from Ajivika yesterday, and I think 2 of them have come here. The partnership team has come here. Shrija and Christopher both have come here. Very, very deliberately I invited them. Because I found something very interesting. Because this year, 25,000 crores is getting spent by 21 ministries in skill development. If you really recollect the statements of P. Chidambaram, finance minister who articulated this, 2005, when he said, this will be the India's largest soft infrastructure investment. It was unfortunately articulated by the wrong minister. The finance minister articulated something like this, went into turf war and all kinds of things. But I really felt, seeing Dilip Shenoy sitting here, the kind of opportunity, the first note, what was written was this tripod of recruitment and staffing as one part of the tripod, assessment of the second part of the tripod, and the third part of the tripod, which was skill development. At that point when it was conceived. And along the way, with every year, I also got into politics after that, as some of you would know. And one has been a lone voice pushing for greater allotment, pushing for greater state participation. And when it actually all is happening, I found out of the 802 partners, I think 200 plus in Ajivika and NSDC, God knows how many hundreds and all that. There are actually only 2 of us from our community of staffing companies. He also made a veiled reference to it. I actually thought that very little we have known about them and taken interest about this. Like for instance, this champion scheme which they have come up with. Most of our 45 can get through. and actually take money between 2 crores to 10 crores, which is not small amount. At one level, I really thought the question I asked at the last about this commoditizing of this business, when I've been in Netherlands, I've been in some of these countries where flexi staffing has reached a certain level, I really felt the kind of investments that I've made in training centers, for instance, okay, with periodic phases where the industry has gone through commoditizing pressures. Whenever that's happened, something has happened either in the law or in investments which are of a collective kind in these countries, which lifted up the industry again. You know, if you really track this history, it's amazing when public sector got opened up in Italy, or whether it's this entire train and depute kind of a concept got entrenched in some countries like Netherlands, for instance. I really felt, if you really look at the history of this place, of this industry, whenever investments have collectively happened, the industry has got a lift. And today, I think we're sitting on a golden opportunity. You know, when I was just sitting to listen to Ajivika, CEO, on whatever the scheme is all about and how only 2 of the 45 respected staffing companies have actually signed up, I felt I must, present this to you, not merely as an opportunity to make some 2 crores, 10 crores kind of a thing, but as an opportunity to conceive a new business model for our industry. Honestly, at this point, I remember 22 years back when first I started this business of deputation. I mean, Kamal was talking about a company which was struggling to find a name for this industry kind of a thing. We were running at 45% margin. I don't know how many of you recollect that the first 6 years that Marfa was into this business, we were running at 45% plus. Okay. And now when we are talking of 4%, 5%, 6% kind of a thing, my mind goes back to what kind of investments have happened in this industry. And the opportunities have been abound around us to make those investments. But I think, as Vikas in the last panel pointed out, the search for new technologies to be deployed, search for new business models to be deployed. He mentioned that at that level of a Deloitte consultant, but we really go a little deeper into it. Can we actually look at the newer business models? And the newer business models are right here for us to see. You know, it may be 21 ministries which may be investing these 25,000 crores of money on skill development. But if we don't see it as an important element in strengthening our competitive advantage, then I think this is another few crores which will be in the hands of some people, and they won't know how to make placements of these people. And the constant search, Ramkumar, when he first stepped into the stage, first thing he's asking his boss, I have 1,000 people to be placed, I've skilled them, I need to place them. Okay, there's a big struggle. And the same Ram talks about, can you figure out new business models? The business model, in my view, is these 3 things which are supposed to be disparate, deliberately kept disparate: assessment, training, and placement cum staffing, need to in some manner come together, either under the same roof or in an alliance mode. And I think the path forward for us could be some of the ways in which it has evolved in some of the European countries, especially Netherlands, in my view, where I think we could take an inspiration from in terms of how this triad came together. That's the only idea I wanted to really place before you. And I believe Achhe Din will come to our industry. And in my view, that day is not too far when we crack this and we reverse this commoditizing process, which, will, I don't know whether it will go back to the 45% days, but at least it should come up a lot more, and government should see the pressure to create those legislations which have happened in Italy, which have happened in France, which have happened in Netherlands, where they could lift the industry to another level, where some of the countries have used the staffing companies for actually enforcing labor laws.